Forget what the official broadcast showed you. The 2026 Chinese GP was not a 56-lap race. It was the first real talent filter of this new technical era, and the podium doesn't tell even half the story. While Mercedes was celebrating and Ferrari was trying to figure out what went wrong between their own drivers, a kid in a Haas was doing things that had no business happening in that car. No budget, no top-tier development, just raw racecraft. Today, I'm dropping the pure-blood tier list of the Chinese GP, from the driver who rewrote what it means to be young in this sport, to the prince who got outdriven by his own teammate when it mattered most. And with Bahrain and Saudi Arabia cancelled due to the situation in the Middle East, what we saw in Shanghai is the only truth we're getting for weeks. Suzuka in 2 weeks, then a 5-week gap until Miami. This verdict is the only one on the table right now, which means every number, every position, every strategic call from Shanghai carries double the weight. Subscribe to Apex E-Array. It's time to understand the game. Kimi Antonelli, 19 years old, 202 days, pole with a 132.064, knocking out Vettel's record as the youngest pole sitter in Formula One history. And the race hadn't even started yet. At the start, both Ferraris jumped ahead. Hamilton came hard to the right and got past both Mercedes. Antonelli dropped to P2. You know what happened next? 1 lap later he was leading again. Turn 14 hairpin, overtake mode engaged, dived inside Hamilton, and that was it. The race was over for the rest of the field right there. Led through the pit stops, led the restart after the lap 10 safety car, led to the checkered flag, crossed the line 5.5 seconds clear of his own teammate, in a race where every tenth was being fought for. He had a scare on lap 53, locked the front wheels on the main straight, ran off track, lost 2 seconds. And here's what separates the great ones from the rest. He didn't come on the radio panicking, didn't push too hard trying to recover those 2 seconds and destroy the tyres. He reset, managed the gap, brought the car home clean. That's not instinct, that's intelligence. At 19 years old, the 2026 Mercedes looks like the 2014 Mercedes. Chassis dominance, energy management, race control, the whole package. And at the center of all that is a kid who still makes rookie mistakes in practice, but makes them disappear when the lights go out. 47 points between the sprint and the GP championship lead shared with Russell, and a performance level that is already making the rest of the grid uncomfortable. 9.5 out of 10. Tier S. Not up for debate. Now I know you guys are going to push back on this next one. Ollie Bearman, Tier S in a Haas. Before you close the video, hear me out. Lap 1, Hajar snapped the rear at turn 13 right next to Bearman. The Brit had to cut the escape road to avoid the crash and dropped to P14. 14. In a Haas. In a race where the midfield is tighter than it's ever been. Most drivers in that situation start managing the race, protecting the car, playing it safe. Bearman went hunting. He picked off positions one by one until the lap 10 safety car, triggered by Stroll stopping at turn 1, handed him the perfect pit window. Pitted, went to fresh hard tyres, rejoined in P7, passed Ocon, passed Colapinto, held P5 all the way to the end without a single mistake in the closing laps when the pressure was highest. 10 points, back-to-back, top 5 finishes. Bearman himself said something that puts the whole thing in perspective. Ferrari's FP3 pace is our qualifying pace. Think about what that means. The Haas shows up on Saturday already behind where Ferrari was on Friday. The development gap between a top team and a midfield team in 2026 is enormous. And Bearman still finished ahead of cars that cost twice as much, driven by experienced drivers who had every mechanical advantage. 17 points in the championship, every single one scored by him. Teammate Ocon finished P14 after a penalty. The standard for Tier S is simple. Did you get everything this car could possibly give? Did you leave anything on the table? Bearman didn't leave a single tenth, not one. Getting everything out of a limited package without making a single mistake. That's not luck. One George Russell, Tier A, 9 out of 10. George Russell won the sprint on Saturday. Sunday was a different story, but the ending was the same. In Q3, the car stopped on track. He limped back to the pits in first gear and only got one flying lap in at the end of the session. Started P2, but both Ferraris jumped him at the launch and he fell to P4 before turn 1. The safety car restart on lap 10 was where Russell struggled most. He admitted on the radio that he couldn't get heat into the hard tyres quickly enough, and the Ferraris were fast everywhere that mattered. He was stuck in the queue while Antonelli was already pulling away up front and opening a gap that would never close. But this is what Russell does. He doesn't crack. He works the problem. Passed Leclerc on lap 3 of the restart. Then Hamilton shortly after. Climbed methodically all the way back to P2. Crossing the line 5.5 seconds behind his teammate. Leads the championship with 51 points. Russell is fast and scores points every single week. That combination wins championships 9 out of 10. Lewis Hamilton, Tier A, and Lewis Hamilton. On lap 1 he went from P3 to P1, passing both Mercedes on the outside at 40 years old, in his first season with Ferrari, using the team's launch advantage like he'd been doing it his whole career. Led the early laps, lost the lead to Antonelli on lap 2, and then started what was genuinely the best battle of the entire race. From lap 25 to lap 40, Hamilton and Leclerc traded positions 3 times, side by side through the fast stuff, late on the brakes into the hairpin, defensive lines on the outside of turn 6. Real racing. Hamilton closed it out on lap 40, dove inside at turn 1 and never gave it back. From there he managed the gap to Leclerc with the kind of tyre discipline that only comes from 15 years of doing this at the highest level. First podium for the Scuderia in the Grand Prix. 477 days without standing on that top step. And when he finally got there, he earned it the hard way, beating the man Ferrari built the car around. Only not Tier S, because Mercedes showed a clear pace advantage in race trim. But Hamilton is still hungry, and that should worry a lot of people at Maranello. Charles Leclerc, Tier B, 8 out of 10. Charles Leclerc, P4, Tier B, 34 points, second in the championship. On the surface it looks like a solid weekend, but we don't do surface level here. Leclerc started P4, briefly held P2 after the opening chaos, then slowly went backwards. Lost to Russell on lap 3 of the restart, then lost the 15-lap battle against Hamilton, the teammate who just arrived this year and is already dictating the terms inside the garage. Leclerc was on the losing end every single time it counted. The data shows Ferrari degrades the front tyre faster than Mercedes in long stints. But here's what makes it complicated. Leclerc was fighting a car that didn't want to cooperate in the final phase, while Hamilton in the exact same car was managing just fine. Same fuel, same machinery. That gap in tyre management between the two is the real story of the Chinese GP. And it's a story Leclerc needs to rewrite before May. 8 out of 10. Good, but not enough for what he needs to prove. Conclusion. The map is clear after Shanghai. Mercedes has the best chassis package of this era. Ferrari has the most explosive engine, but bleeds tyres mid-race. And Haas has Ollie Bearman, who is worth more than the car he's driving. With Bahrain and Saudi off the calendar, the teams are going to use this gap to work away from the cameras. Mercedes will try to keep their active aero advantage under wraps. Ferrari will go hard on Leclerc's tyre degradation to try and close the gap to the silver arrows. Does Bearman deserve Tier S? Can Russell hold off Antonelli for the championship? Has Hamilton already taken over the garage? Or does Leclerc hit back in Suzuka? Drop it in the comments. Hit like for more real technical breakdowns. I'm Apex Era. Peace.